The streaming giant Netflix has chose to settle a front-page precedent-setting lawsuit served to them by Monique in a case that could have found that the streaming service retaliated against the comedian by refusing to engage in good-faith negotiations with her, after she pointed out the streaming company's discriminatory practice of opening contract negotiations with a black woman with a lowball offer of $500,000 for copyrights to a one-hour stand-up comedy special and refusing to compensate her for her experience, worth, value, and time. Despite Monique's extensive resume and documented history of iconic classic comedic success, Netflix chose to take advantage of her by presenting her with an offer of employment for an exclusive stand-up comedy special. Netflix made a lowball offer that was only a fraction of what Netflix paid other non-black female comedians. Monique's lawsuit aimed to shed light on Netflix, every industry and company's systematic practice of underpaying black women, upholding and perpetuating the drastic wage gap forced upon black women in the global workforce. When the former sitcom star refused the lowball offer, Netflix did not counter or keep negotiating, a standard practice, according to the suit. The California federal judge who presided over this case sided with Monique's novel theory that Netflix's failure to negotiate an opening offer consistent with its normal practice, which would normally lead to increased compensation, constitutes an adverse employment action for purposes of a retaliation claim. The judge ruled, at the very least, Monique's allegations permit the plausible inference that, had she not challenged her offer as discriminatory, Netflix would have continued negotiating in good faith with her and increased her offer, consistent with its customary practice in dealing with talent in the entertainment industry. In 2017, Netflix sought after Monique to add to its roster of comedians for a comedy special during a time it was aggressively ramping up its stand-up content, the complaint says. The negotiations, however, didn't get far because the Oscar-winning actress did not agree Netflix's opening and final offer of $500,000 for a one-hour show that Netflix would have complete control over, including owning the copyright and retaining all audio-only rights to the special did not reflect her legendary worth. She protested the offer as discriminatory, leading to Netflix walking away from the negotiations. "I couldn't accept that low offer because if I did, I couldn't sleep at night," Monique said on Sway in the Morning in January 2018. "If I accepted $500,000, what does Tiffany Haddish have coming? If I accept that, what does the black female comedian have coming? Because what they'll say is, Monique accepted this and she's got that. So what do they have coming?" Monique's representatives pleaded with Netflix to reconsider this racially and gender-biased offer and asked, what makes Monique, who has been labeled a living legend based on her awards from around the world worth $12,500,000 less than Amy Schumer to Netflix? Monique went on to sue Netflix in 2019 and called for her supporters to boycott Netflix for refusing to negotiate a respectful contract with her beyond its initial opening offer and final offer of $500,000. She accused the streaming service of systematically underpaying black women, pointing to eight-figure deals with Amy Schumer, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock. Amy Schumer allegedly leveraged male comedians' compensation during negotiations and was paid 26 times more than what Monique was offered, according to the complaint. In 2020, a California judge sided with Monique, allowing her lawsuit against Netflix and alleging Netflix's comedy special offer to her were discriminatory and authored a novel decision concerning the lack of good faith negotiations, prompting Netflix's retaliation as unlawful racial and gender discrimination. U.S. District Court Judge Andre Byrot Jr. ruled, Monique plausibly alleges that, after she spoke out and called her initial offer discriminatory, Netflix retaliated against her by shutting down its standard practice of negotiating in good faith that typically results in increased monetary compensation beyond the opening offer, and denying her increased compensation as a result. Accordingly, plaintiff has sufficiently alleged that Netflix's alleged failure to negotiate and increase her opening offer by straying from its standard practice are employment actions that are reasonably likely to adversely and materially affect an employee's opportunity for advancement in her career. The court notes that Monique raises a novel theory here, namely that an employer's failure to negotiate an opening offer in good faith, consistent with its alleged customary practice which typically leads to increased compensation, constitutes an adverse employment action for purposes of a retaliation claim, states the decision. While Netflix argues that the novelty of Monique's claim and the absence of on-point legal authority for it should bar her retaliation claims outright, the court disagrees. Monique's lawyer David DeRubertis was pleased with the ruling. Today's ruling is an important victory for Hollywood talent who, just like all other workers, need protections against retaliation if they raise concerns about pay discrimination during the hiring process, he says. Employers in the entertainment industry need to take pay discrimination concerns seriously, fix them if the concerns have merit, and never retaliate against those who have the courage to speak up about equal pay. The decision highlighted the allegation that Amy Schumer, a white comedian, was able to get her own offer increased by $13 million after she pointed to significantly higher compensation being paid to Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. According to a Tuesday, June 14, 2022, court filing, Netflix and Monique have moved to dismiss the discrimination and retaliation lawsuit. Michael Parks, a representative of Monique, expressed that the lawsuit against Netflix has been amicably resolved. The terms of the deal and Monique's compensation were not disclosed. Netflix has not responded to a request for comment.
I think that when I first had to say, I've got to speak up and speak out, and I've got to say boycott this because it's blatantly unfair. It's blatant. It's so in our face that we oftentimes get so fearful that we just say, okay, I'll just let this one ride. Because if you notice, when I did come out and say something, our sister Wanda Sykes said, you know what, Monique, I stand with you because they offered me less than half of what they offered you.
Wow.
So when we get that, and then she got a special on Netflix because she said they moved the comma. Beautiful. What happens is we're all in a position to always be so afraid that we just let it ride and we go somewhere else. So when I had to take that stand against Netflix and say, we can't tolerate this anymore, y'all. We can't do this anymore. Here you have our white sister, Amy Schumer, saying, I'm not a legend, and I should not get what the legends get, because Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle had gotten the deals they got. And let me be clear, they deserve them. But when you're having a conversation with Netflix, and they say, we believe Monique is a legend too. Well, why is my legend different from Chris Rock's legend, from Dave Chappelle's legend? And when that white woman says, I'm no legend, so I shouldn't get what they're getting, but I should get more. And they negotiate, and she gets $2 million more, which gives her $13 million for that special. But then you offer me $500,000. Once you say to my team, we believe Monique is a legend. Well, why is my legend so different than anybody else's legend? So I had to stand up and speak out unapologetically and fearlessly. I had to take that position and that stand, so for the little girl coming behind me, she won't have to go through the same fight. And I say it humbly, when you have the resume that I have, and again, I say that humbly, once you've put in the work, but then you get treated like you should just be thankful we're welcoming you to the party.
Right.